Hi, everybody. It's Denise Dealhart here, and welcome. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm also a widow myself. So, what I found was when I went through so much pain and so much suffering all that time ago, there was very little help out there. There was nobody that I could turn to besides the usual system that is in place and is still in place today. I really struggled with how I was going to move through my grief. I tried the counseling, I tried the therapy, I tried all of that. It didn't help me. It didn't help me move through my grief. All it did was really cement in my head that I was struggling and that I didn't know how to overcome it. So I really needed something or someone to help me. And back then there wasn't anything. In 2009, technology wasn't what it is today. For one, there wasn't a Facebook Live, so I couldn't listen to anybody or hear anybody talk about what they went through. So I was really on my own. Today's topic is, why can't I get off the roller coaster of my grief? Now, the reason that we can't get off the roller coaster of our grief is because we are focusing on our grief. We're focusing on our pain. And the roller coaster of grief is real. It is absolutely real. There is no doubt about it. There's no getting out of it. There's no saying, oh, well, it's just an illusion. You're not going through grief. Get over it. How many of you ladies have actually been told, just get over it, move through it. It's okay. You need to move on. I was at a lunch date with a friend of mine who brought along a friend of hers that was going through a divorce. And this lady looked at me square in the face and she said to me, Denise, so how long did it take you to get over Martin? Well, I nearly died. I just looked at her and I went, it was the first time somebody had actually said that to me after Martin had passed away. So it came as a shock because we assume that everybody understands what we're going through. We assume that our kids, our family, everybody just knows, they've lost their life. But they don't. They don't know the pain. They don't know the heartache that we are going through. So how do we get off that roller coaster? How do we get off that roller coaster of up one day, down the next, up one day, down the next? And, the roller coaster can happen in seconds. It can happen in minutes. It can happen in hours. You can wake up feeling absolutely devastated, and the next minute you're happy. And then you get a phone call and it's like, oh, you're back down again. So you're up and down. That's because grief is emotional. Grief is not just one emotion either. We are so conditioned and taught, and everybody believes that we need to heal our grief. We need to heal the grief. How long does it take? How long will it be before my grief is healed? Well, here's the thing. Grief never heals. Grief is love. Grief is what we go through after we lose such a significant part of our life. We feel the loss. We grieve for that life that we lost, but we also grieve for the life that we were supposed to have, we should have had. So how do we get off that roller coaster? How do we go, well, okay, if grief is an emotion, what emotion is it? Hundreds of emotions. If you imagine grief as a table, and underneath that table, you've got legs, thousands of legs holding it up. There's emotion upon emotion upon emotion. So to say that you need to heal your grief is a myth, because absolutely you cannot heal grief. You have to heal yourself. The myth is that if we just wait for enough time, guess what? Our grief is going to heal. Well, that's the biggest lie that we've been told, is that we need to wait for time, because time doesn't heal. It comes back to us. We have to heal. We have to heal ourselves from an inner core level. What does it mean to heal ourselves? I have a lot of ladies saying, okay, Denise, I'm not going to heal my grief. I'm going to heal myself. How do I do that? How do I heal myself? How do I even know who I am? Healing ourselves sounds very, very simple, but it's not easy. It starts with learning to love yourself. And again, that sounds so simple, doesn't it? It's like, okay, well, I'll just love myself. Look at me. I love myself. But it's not that simple. It's not that easy to do. I struggled and with learning to love me. I struggled with learning to put myself first. And so do so many of my clients, and so do you. I'm sure that if I said to you, do you love yourself? What would you say to me? What would your answer? Type your answer in the comments below. What would you say if, okay, tomorrow morning when you wake up, I want you to love yourself? It's not that simple and that easy to just love yourself. It's not that easy to just go within. A lot of us haven't done any personal growth or personal development. And this is where it is so important now for you to start rediscovering who you are, rediscovering what you want for you. And I know right now that's impossible. I know for a lot of you, it's like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I want. I didn't know what I wanted either. I didn't know whether I was up or whether I was down. I didn't know. But when we do the inner work, and it's an inner journey within ourselves. So what is it? What does it mean? And this is how you're going to stop the roller coaster. This is how you stop and how you get off that roller coaster of emotions. Because like I said earlier, our grief that we feel, and grief is not one single emotion. Grief is not just one emotion. Grief is hundreds of emotions. And how you see your world, in other words, your perception of how you see your world around you, is exactly how you will heal your life, not just your grief. Because your life is shattered here. It's starting over again. It's learning to crawl again. You've got to crawl before you can walk. Because on the outside, you seem to have it all together. On the outside, you seem to be sitting in that roller coaster going, oh, wee, this is so much fun. Oh, I'm going down, I'm going up. To the outside world, you look that you're doing well. How many of you here have had people say to you, wow, you're doing so well. How are you doing it? How are you holding it together? You're so strong. But you know that you're actually sitting in that roller coaster and you are shitting yourself. Excuse the language, but you are shitting yourself, because when is the next dip going to come? You climb up the hill and you climb up the hill, and you know that when you get to the top, you're going to fall. And there's going to be nobody to catch you. And no sooner have you fallen have you started going up again. Now, what is it to love yourself? What is it to put yourself first? I speak to so many ladies every day. I speak to at least 20, 30 ladies, sometimes 40 ladies a day, that are struggling, are absolutely struggling with grief. They don't know how to put themselves first. Because we are taught as children, as women, that everybody else comes. We watched our mothers and put our fathers first. We watched our mothers put us first. We watched our mothers dish up for everybody else at the table and then sit down and dish up for herself. So that behavior we learnt from our mother. And if or from your family, from your tribe, you learned that, you were taught. Now, we weren't taught like you go to school and you're taught when you go to school, okay, this is what you do here, and this is what you do here, and this is what you do there. We pick that up as children, as little children, between the ages of 0 to 7. We pick that up on a subconscious level. We pick that up as, okay, what do I do here? Oh, look, mummy's dishing up for daddy. Mummy's cooking for daddy. That's what mummies do. As a little girl, did you ever play mummies and daddies? You know, or mummies or nurses or whatever the little games were that we used to play. You were role modeling what you saw with in your tribe, with your parents. I remember as a little girl, my mother used to always put out my dad's clothes. He would go and have a shower or a bath, and he'd get out of there, and on the bed would be laid all his clothes. His shirt, his pants, his jacket if he was wearing a jacket. Back in the day, men used to go to work with jackets and ties and the whole kit and caboodle. His socks, his shoes, his underpants. All he had to do was step out of the shower into his clothes. At the end of the day, those clothes would miraculously end up from being dropped on the floor or wherever he used to put them, on the bed or the chair that was in the bedroom, miraculously end up clean, ironed, starched, because a lot of starching was done back then, in the cupboard, ready again for the next use. So it's that conditioning that we are still trying to overcome, or we don't even realize that we've got it. So now, fast forward in your life now to where you've done the same thing subconsciously with your husband, with your kids. You've put yourself last. I'm not important. Everybody else is more important than me. And you might not think it. You might not even feel it. You know you're important. But somehow others are more important than you. I was speaking to a client the other day and she said to me, you know, Denise, I even put my dog before me. I feed my dog before I feed me. And that's how we as women are conditioned. Men are different. Men expect to be, come on, you know, I deserve it. But we stand back and we let everybody else have first. We let everybody get first and we stand back. We play small. Here's the danger now. If you don't start putting yourself first, you start healing yourself, you will continue on the grief roller coaster. Or in 10 years' time, or 20 years' time, or 5 years' time, you won't be having so many of the ups and downs, but you will still have them. Because emotions, and I say emotions, because remember I said grief is not one emotion. We have to heal those emotions. So why do we have to go within to heal those emotions? Why can't we just read a book and go, oh, okay, that's how I do it? Why can't we wait for time? Why is it absolutely useless to follow the 5 stages of grief? It's because emotions are not linear. Emotions are all over the place. You know when you're feeling joyful. You know that emotion of joy. It's like, yes, oh my God, I'm so happy. You also know the emotion of being really sad. Your body shows it. Your physiology, our physiology, it's within ourselves, within our body. So grief is not just grief. Let me label it. I'm grieving. You're not just grieving. You're sad. You're emotional. You're lonely. You feel lost. Those are all emotions. And underneath each one of those are even more emotions. And if we don't get to those and we don't put ourselves first, we bury those emotions. We cover them up. We pretend we're okay. We live in that land of, okay, how are you going? Okay. How was your day? Okay. We live in the land of okay. As we jump into the roller coaster that we know is going to take us up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, all over the place, we jump in and everybody says, how was your ride? Okay. Because we don't want to face our own emotions because we've been taught, we've been conditioned that you are okay. I was conditioned, and I know a lot of you have been as well, to just soldier on. You will be okay. When my dad died, my dad died a week before my 18th birthday. My mum was still in her 40s. I back then didn't get what my mum went through. She was a young widow. She was only in her 40s. It was a week before my 18th birthday, so my dad didn't see my 18th birthday. And I know that my mum was always saying, she's okay, she's okay, she's okay, she's okay. She never faced her emotions, ever, because she just soldiered on. And I can remember her saying to my aunt who was sitting with her, saying to her, "Hey, Anthea, how are you doing?" And her reply was, "I'm okay, I'm soldiering on." So as a woman, seeing my mother soldier on, and her always saying to me, "Denise, you just need to soldier on. You'll be okay. Just soldier on." I started soldiering on and pushing through. How many of you here, and I see there's a lot of you here, how many of you just believe that you will be okay as long as you just soldier on? Here's the thing. Soldiering on keeps you stuck on your grief roller coaster. Because if we don't feel those emotions, flow, feel, let go, overcome, and become whole. If we don't feel our emotions and we don't give ourselves permission to absolutely 100% feel our emotions, we can't heal. We cannot heal what we don't feel and what we don't acknowledge. So pretending that we're okay and that we're soldiering on doesn't help. We are so afraid of really showing ourselves, and I'm not talking about showing everybody else out there, look, I'm battling, I'm struggling, because that also becomes very tiresome for other people. We can't keep telling people all the time, look, I'm not well, I'm not feeling good, I'm depressed today, I'm lonely, because as much as what we want everybody around us, our family, our friends, our neighbors to understand us, they don't. We mask it. We mask our emotions. We pretend we're okay. That keeps you on the grief roller coaster. I want you to imagine for a second that we have a big box in front of you and you have a bunch of helium balloons, maybe 20, 30, maybe even 40 helium balloons. What do helium balloons do? Helium balloons rise. What happens when you try and push a helium balloon down? It rises to the top. So I want you for a minute to imagine that those helium balloons are your emotions. They're all held by one string, and that string is called grief. And branching out from that one string, you have all these other helium balloons. Those are all your emotions. But the fundamental thing is grief. It's been labeled grief. It's called the grief balloons, right? Your belief is that, okay, all I have to do here now is soldier on. I just need to keep busy. I need to go back to work and just throw myself in my job. I need to just throw myself at my kids. I just need to do everything for my family. All I need to do is just ignore what's going on and everything will go away because, as they say, time heals all. So by me keeping busy, I'll just have to go through enough time and I'll be okay. What stage of grief am I in now? Oh, I don't know. I don't think I'm there. But was I there? I'm not sure. That keeps you on your roller coaster. So you're still hanging on to these balloons, right? You still got these balloons. You're walking around with them, la 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 la, and you're looking at them going, oh, I love these balloons. But gee, they're painful. My arm's getting heavy. I can't carry them anymore. So what do? You go, oh, look, I've got a box. So you take those helium balloons, and after much struggling to get them all in, You get one in and it tries to pop up, and you get the other one in and it tries to pop up, and you get the next one in and it tries to pop up. Visualize this. These are your emotions that you're stacking down and that can't want to come up again. So you're back on the roller coaster. So you stack it down and stack it down. And one pops up and you, hey, where are you going? Come back down here. Till eventually, after time, who knows how much time, you've managed to get them all into this box. So you get all these balloons in the box. And you go, phew, finally, I'm feeling better. Finally, I've got all these balloons in the box. What happens? Something triggers it. Something happens. You hear a song. You're driving down the road. You bump into an old friend at a shopping center or an old workmate, or something somewhere somehow triggers. And you look into that box and you go, wow. And as you lift that lid of that box, whoosh, they all come out. Because that's what helium does. That's what our emotions do. Our emotions can stay buried beneath the surface for as long as we want them to be there. We can keep them there for years, believing and thinking, oh, I'm soldiering on. Look how well I'm doing. But it takes one thing to just trigger it. That's the roller coaster of grief. We have to heal ourselves from within. We have to address that stuff. We have to do the inner work on ourselves. We have to learn to love ourselves at a core inner level. Learning to love ourselves sounds so simple. It sounds so easy. Oh, I'll just read a book on self-love. Oh, okay, cool. That's what I do. I'll just Google self-love. I'll watch a YouTube video. That's information. What we need and what you need right now is transformation. And there's a massive difference between information and transformation. There's a huge gap, massive gap, because you've got your information here, which is your books, your Facebook groups, your other groups that you belong to, other widows and other people that you associate with. That's information. So you should do this. This is what worked for me. Maybe it's going to work for you. That's information. What you do with that information, and what we all do with that information, is we take it in and that didn't work for me. So you look for more information. I know I did. I did the exact same thing. I went through months of looking here, looking there, trying this, trying that, trying everything. That didn't work. I invested thousands of dollars. I had a really good friend, Laura, who gave me this amazing, and I look back now, I just laugh at it. But, at the time, she gave me this amazing solution. She told me exactly what to do, how to heal my grief and whatever, and sent me off to some person that was going to help me. And I believed her because it helped her. So I believed her, and off I went. Did exactly the same. It didn't work for me. I was still feeling, man, this is not working. Then I started guessing and saying, well, is there something wrong with me? How many of you think that maybe there's something wrong with you, that you're different to anybody else, that your grief is worse than somebody else's grief, or that you're just not getting it? You see other ladies that have healed or that have got partners and they're moving on in their life, and you think to yourself, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong. The truth is, there is nothing wrong with you. You just don't know what to do. You just don't know how to do it. And that's okay. I didn't know how to do it either until I started investigating and looking and going within myself. The key, I'm going to give you the key now to getting off that grief roller coaster, which is an awful place to be, is to go within yourself, to do the inner work on yourself, to uncover all those limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck in your life. Because we can't heal our grief, but we can heal ourselves and our life. That's a choice. We didn't have a choice to be grieving. Oh, would you like to grieve? No, that wasn't a choice. But our choice now is that we can choose to heal ourselves. We can choose which way we are going to go. We can choose our next life because you are stepping into your next life. You are stepping into your new future. So, if you want to know more of how to do that and what I do and what my program can possibly help you with, I don't know if it will help you. I don't even know if I can help you. This is not about me, my program, or anything else. This is about your choice. What do you want for you? So if you want to have a chat to me, click on livingbeyondgriefandloss.com/talk. Let's have a chat and see what you are stuck with, where you want to move forward in your life. Remember, this is more than just your grief. This is your life. When my clients start moving forward with their life, their grief heals. Because underneath that grief are all those balloons, all those emotions. And emotions is energy in motion. I don't know if you've ever heard that term before, but if you look at the word emotion, it's energy in motion. We are constantly in a state of grief. We are in grief, we grieve for, especially now, we're grieving for the loss of our freedom, the loss of being able to move around. That's grief. You grieve. People don't realize, and, having done this work now for so long, grief is not just when you lose somebody. We tend to say we're mourning, we're in grief because we've lost the love of our life. We've lost that significant person in our life. Grief can be, and you would have experienced various levels of grief, maybe not even realizing that you have throughout your life. Maybe you lost a job when you were younger. Yeah, maybe you lost a job, you were made redundant. I know I've lost jobs before where the companies have closed down or they just decide that they don't need me anymore. For whatever reason, it's a shock. But that's grief. You grieve. So even way back then, we don't acknowledge that grief. We never acknowledged that grief. It was just like, oh, well, soldier on. Here we go again. Soldier on. Okay, find another job. Feel a bit lousy today, but just soldier on and find another job. We never acknowledge that grief. So we've got that in our bodies, in our system, in our whole being. Maybe you really fell deeply in love with somebody, before you got married. And you had this whirlwind romance, and oh my God, this person was the best, the one. This was the one, and they dumped you. They broke up with you. It's like, no, don't want you, don't love you, don't want. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? And you go through all those emotions that, I hate the world. I'm never going to find love again. Guess what? That's grief. That is grief. Or you had your pet that died. There's different levels of grief. I remember myself, and I remember when I really started studying grief and how grief stays within our bodies and how we process grief, all kinds of grief. I remember I had a goldfish that I called Lulu. And Lulu died. And again, my mum said to me, oh, it's okay. Lulu's gone to heaven to be with God now. But it's okay because you're strong. You're a strong little girl, aren't you? There began another conditioning, another programming. That when Martin passed away, I thought to myself, I got this. I'm strong. I can just soldier on. Until I fell in a heap. I realized I can't do this. I cannot do this on my own. That's when I reached out for help. But it's reaching out for the right help, because remember, I was already going for counseling. I was already going for therapy. That wasn't helping me. It might help some, but it wasn't helping me. And I know for a lot of my clients, it doesn't help them either. So book your call with me, livingbeyondgriefandloss.com/talk. Let's have a chat. It's a free breakthrough call. We actually have fun. We actually do have fun on the call. And, it's just really getting to know where you are in your grief journey. So we go through things like, where have you been, where you are now. But the most important part of our call is, where do you want to go from here? Because that's your life moves forward from here, regardless of what's going on around you. Those are outside forces we cannot change. And if it's not what we're going through now, it will be something else. The focus has to come back to you. To get off your grief roller coaster, you have to bring your focus back to you. And how are you going to do that? We need help to do that, because we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. It's impossible. We cannot control what's going on around us. We cannot control other people. We can control our emotions. We can control our decisions. We can control our choices. So, ladies, reach out to me. Book your free breakthrough call with me. There's no charge. Choose a time that suits you, no matter where you are in the world. I'm in Australia. My day starts at 6:15 a.m. every single morning. That's when I have my very first call. So, don't think, I can't talk to Denise. I can't speak to anybody. And you know what? We have laughter, we have tears, we have breakthroughs on the call. Because it's not about where you've been. How I work with you differently and how I want you to see your life from today is draw a line in the sand. Just draw that line in the sand and say, you know what? Yeah, that was then, this is now. What am I choosing for now? Not for tomorrow, but for today. Because what you do today creates your tomorrow. But we've been so taught and conditioned to plan. What are you going to be in 5 years' time? Where do you want to be in 10 years' time? Where do you want to be in 6 months' time? Hey, who the hell knows? It's all unknown. All you know is today. What am I going to do today? Who am I going to be today? So, if you really want to move through your grief and you want to know how to do it quickly, within weeks, not months, not years, but within weeks, book your call with me and let's see where you're at. Let's help you move forward. Let's map out your way forward. Thank you so much, all you beautiful people, for joining me on today's call. Grief is like a wave, comes in harsh at times. Yeah. And that's because there's those underlying emotions that haven't been healed. It's not the grief that comes in waves, it's the emotions. Once we actually heal those underlying emotions at an inner core level, we can sit and watch those waves come and say, I'm really enjoying these waves. Because they're not grief waves anymore, they're waves of love. And that's the key, is to create love and the love waves, because there was a lot of love that you had. But it's not that easy to do on our own. I would even go as far as saying it's impossible to do on our own. So, ladies, thank you so much for being with me today. I've really gone over time. I see that it's already almost 3/4 of an hour. Normally, I only chat for 20 minutes, but this is really something that's close to my heart. So book your call with me, and I shall see you soon. Love you all. Bye.